Hey y'all, welcome back to the cookie jar. Today we're doing the first recipe from the Peach Cobbler Murder. It is the Minnesota Peach Cobbler, which is this one and these 2 pages. Now it's got the ingredients in 2 separate spots, so that's the first thing you really want to watch out for. What you're going to need in total is 10 cups frozen sliced peaches, approximately 2.5 pounds sliced, 1/8 cup of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons, 1.5 cups white sugar granulated, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 cup flour, no need to sift, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 cup melted butter, 1 stick, 1/4 pound. And then for the topping, it's going to need 1 cup flour, no need to sift, 1 cup white sugar granulated, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 stick softened butter, 1/4 cup, 1/8 pound, 2 beaten eggs. Just stir them up in a glass with a fork. So it's got a couple of notes. Now, the first thing is you are preheating the oven to 350. Under that, it says don't thaw your peaches before you make this. Leave them frozen. When you have the peaches and all the stuff that goes in the peaches, it says it's easier to mix them up with your impeccably clean hands. And then it also notes for the crust, if you have a crude processor, you can make the crust using the steel blade and chilled butter cut into 4 chunks. So it does say that. It also notes that when you're making the top crust, it says, for those of you who remember your school library with fondness, the result will resemble library paste, but it smells a whole lot better. I must be too young to understand what library paste is, because I'm an avid book person and I've never heard of library paste. The last little part for the recipe is don't worry if some spots aren't covered very well. The batter will spread out and fill in as it bakes and result in a crunchy crust. The last thing is Minnesota Peach Cobbler can be eaten hot, warm, room temperature, or chilled. It can be served by itself in a bowl or topped with cream or ice cream. So I have everything set out. Let's get baking. Here is everything we're going to need for this recipe. Okay, so the first thing is we have our 10 cups of peaches, and then we're going to toss them with the 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And it just says to toss it up. Next, it says in a smaller bowl, combine the white sugar. So that's 1.5 cups of white sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then the 3/4 cup of flour, and the 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then it just says to mix them until they are evenly combined. And then pour the dry mixture over the peaches and toss those together with your clean hands. And we're going to use that bowl again in a little bit. I don't think I got a big enough bowl to really do this with my hands, but I'm going to try. Note to self, just because 10 cups fits does not mean you can easily mix 10 cups. It's so cold. All right, I feel like these are pretty coated on all sides, and there's still a bunch at the bottom. Most of the dry mixture is clinging to the peaches. Dump them into the cake pan you've prepared. It looks like, for the most part, actually it doesn't. It still looks like there's a whole lot that fell to the bottom and isn't mixed in. But at the same time, it does not seem like any more is going to cling to these peaches. They all look very well coated. So here is our sprayed 9x13. Spread that out a wee bit. Now it says to melt the butter. Drizzle a little over the peaches and cover the cake pan tightly with foil. Now we just cover this with foil and then we will bake it off for 40 minutes. So this is what we take out of the oven after 40 minutes. So it throws up a reminder not to turn the oven off. You're going to leave it at 350. And then I guess we're just going to let the peaches hang out while we combine our cup of flour, the cup of sugar, as well as the 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, the 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then somebody had suggested a pastry cutter for this kind of stuff. I have one, obviously, but the side pops off and I hate them because I don't feel they're very easy. But I figured for this little amount, we'd go ahead and we'd try it today just to see if it actually does work better than forks. Give it a quick little zhoosh around. Cut in the softened butter until it looks like cornmeal. All of the butter just kind of got stuck on the thingy. Maybe I just don't know how to use this thing correctly. I seem to have lost the butter, but it doesn't look like cornmeal. Okay, this is kind of what I have now. Add the beaten eggs and mix with a fork. So here is our 2 beaten eggs. Now it looks like that. Drop on spoonfuls of the topping, little dabs and scrapes from the spoon with another spoon, a spatula, or with your freshly washed fingers. This is what it looks up like, all dabbed with the topping. Now it's going to go back in the 350 oven for 50 minutes. So after it cooks again, this is what we come up with after 50 minutes. So here is the Minnesota Peach Cobbler. It does look good. It smells good too. It's still warm. Peaches and cinnamon. That is so good. It's just the right amount of cinnamon. It's just the right amount of crunch from the top. Oh gosh, it's so good. It doesn't even, it's not need cream. It does not need ice cream. It does not need anything else. This is perfect just the way it is. So next week we are making the strawberry flip cookies. That is the second recipe from this book. If you are interested in checking those out, join us next week. I hope y'all have a good one. Bye guys.